Good afternoon. Today, our professional development will be on the Science MAPS program, which is an benchmark assessment related to science in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So, the learning targets for this professional development is for teachers to be able to use data to create instructional groups, small group instruction. Teachers will also create make and takes to implement into the classroom, and teachers will understand how to analyze student data, plus create independent teacher-led activities for science content. So we started this before the professional development with a needs assessment survey so that we can assess what you teachers or teachers in general needed or felt like they needed and have had for professional development. So educators surveyed were split 50-50 when asked about the professional development that they had received through the district. Teachers stated that they received professional development in curriculum planning and development and student assessment. The results from the needs assessment survey, all teachers wanted professional development in effective teaching, curriculum planning and development, student assessments, research skills, conflict management, and cross-curricular diversity. They agreed that these trainings are needed to effectively facilitate the learning for their students in the classrooms, but some teachers learned better in the morning, whereas some decided that they learned better in the afternoon. And this is valuable information to gauge what works best for teachers, because there should not be a one-stop-fit-all approach to professional development. Professional development with MAPS. So NWEA has a MAPS assessment that's a job-embedded professional development for teachers. Science teachers have not been able to have a benchmark assessment of this magnitude. Years prior, science gets tested for FCAT science in the state of Florida in 5th grade, and they're tested again in 8th. So there was no real way to measure what the students knew, what their strengths and weaknesses were over a period of each year. So this benchmark assessment gives teachers the data that they need to find what students struggle with, what their strengths are, and what we need as educators to implement into the classroom to help students gain knowledge of science. So when teachers go into the NWEA MAPS website, they can manage test sessions. And teachers can manage this. They can find students, they can test their classes. This allows them to find the appropriate test for the grade levels. Each individual class gets a session ID and a password that's generated by the program. So once you've set it up per class, you're going to go to test my class. And when you get into Test My Class, you will see something similar to this. For instance, the previous one that teachers just basically took in the end of August, beginning of September, was the fall 21-22 timeframe. And if you notice, it has the session name, test session name, and it has who it was created by, so it would be the teacher. For in this instance, it was me. This is my mock class. And then it gave the date modified that you assigned it. And this is just an easy way for teachers to go in and look it up by class period. You can personalize your test session code. Some teachers have even put, say, Mobley period 1. So that way you know which particular class you're dealing with, and then it's easier to go back and sort the data later. Now, justification. So when you go into MAPS after you've tested your students, it gives you a breakdown of what the students did. Again, 5th and 8th grade. Yes, you can show what the students know as sciences, but you don't really have an idea of what they're gauging if it was just tested in 5th and then tested in 8th. So that's a big span of time. MAPS can give you a play-by-play range of what groups are struggling, so you can build instructional groups for the struggling students. Students that are mid-range, above, and on grade level. You can provide support for those students. As you can see, it breaks it down by instructional area. And the range for 6th grade is 203. That is where students should be coming into 6th grade, or where they should be with knowledge of 6th grade data. And then you can assess your groups accordingly. And it's broken down by the instructional areas, the different subjects, subgroups that they're going to discuss and learn in science. Implementation. So here's how you would use this data. You would use this data to create small group instruction, create stations for small group instruction and collaborative investigations. Science has not necessarily been able to do this. It's been more so in reading and math. You can incorporate leveled science readers into teacher-led groups so that students read content and comprehend on their level. Teachers can pull resources that effectively meets the needs of these groups and individual students based on the data received from MAPS. How to start stations? Well, again, science teachers have not had this, so you can start with not recreating the wheel. Go on to Teachers Pay Teachers. Find resources. Look in your media centers. Find resources that are science-based. So, for example, with Teachers Pay Teachers, there are free, there's paid downloads for stations, like this startup kit that we have data here to give you information as to how to begin. Like gives you ideas of what to do for stations 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Vocabulary, comprehension, gives tips and tricks, management tips, grouping bookmarks, station signs, station directions, student recording packets. Excuse me. Introducing each station to students is where I would start, because you can't put students in a group and then expect them to be able to work through it. So I would start with modeling so that they understand the directions, reinforcing their directions, implementing a checklist so that students can stay on track during stations. Now, making takes. Some teachers color coordinate by topic, by instructional group, or by station. The assignment should be leveled according to the instructional level of the students as to not provide too much struggle, especially when it's things that they're working on without the teacher right there. Because, you know, of course, teacher's going to have a group while this is taking place. So with the materials at your table, I want you to create make and takes activities to use in your classroom. Now, here's a learning activity. Students, for example, learning about animal cells. I would, if it were me, as far as leveling, I would start with giving them scaffold instruction. For example, group A gets a cutout word bank, and then they glue the different strips onto this activity. Group B would use the word bank to fill in the correct words that label the animal cell. And then group C and D use their function description sheet to help. Now, color code each part of the animal cell because it makes it a little bit easier for students to distinguish through what they're getting ready to work on. And then when they're done, you have them finish to turn it in for a grade. Now, the teacher, of course, has an answer key to grade with, but it's scaffolded according to the different levels of the students. Now, for this professional development, I would like for you to provide feedback and what you're going to do is you are going to implement the make and takes into your class setting. You're going to implement small group instruction, instructional grouping, and then after you've implemented it at the end of November, I would like for you all to submit a reflection and show student samples before the end of this month, November. All right, thank you for your time today. So the materials that we used here came from YouTube. We used paper, pencil, crayons, word banks, scissors, function sheets, and maps, NWEA website, and also the Amoeba Sisters. Again, make sure you get this information into me at the end of the month. Thank you for your time.